Oh my god. Alright, so I haven't made a video in a while, and I think it's about time I start making some more videos. Also just because, I mean, it's been a while and I've had all these boards for a while now, and I'm still making new projects, but I haven't posted anything. And also, I have a lot going on with some of the old boards that I want to talk about too. So oops. I'm gonna start off going to work today, and I'll get a chance to talk about it. Whew, there we go. Now we're moving. Yeah, I hope the wind noise isn't too bad, but if I get a chance to, I'll explain all the issues with the board, especially the mountain board, the DIY off-road board that I made. I think that video came out a year or two ago. I think it's about time I go back and show kind of like what damages incurred, what changes I made. Okay, now that I got to calm down for a minute, I get a chance to show you this. So first of all, here's the board in its entirety. This is the purple board. This is the same board that was made during the DIY mountain board video. And some of the issues you can see so far. So obviously, I've almost entirely stopped using the bindings. I've got them like set so high right now, and my foot isn't even touching the top of them. They're not really doing anything. They do make me feel more stable, but I think it's an option I would leave off entirely. Battery's still going strong, still has a very long runtime. After the last video, I know I didn't show it when I was making the board, but I did eventually go back and heat shrink the whole thing. And I made this nice removable external port where it actually just bolts on with a couple screws there, and then it just has a jumper wire that runs from the battery across over the foot loop into the controller box. But the controller box is all kinds of problems so far. So I wanted to go with something waterproof, so I ended up getting this waterproof box. I ended up putting my power switch and my charge port directly on here, charge port not on the battery, just because I wanted everything to be in one spot. I did get some nice aftermarket tail lights, 3D printed a bracket to hold it, and that surprisingly is the best working thing I've ever made, 3D printing. Turn that off. And then at some time, like probably about a month or two after I made the board in the video, I did go back and I put this abrasion, what do you call this stuff? This purple wire wrap over top of everything. Did some zip tie stitching just to kind of hold it in a loom shape so it wasn't like dangling anywhere it would get in the tires. But yeah, as far as the drivetrain goes, everything's working great. I love it. It still rides me back and forth to work damn near all the time. But the box itself is the issue. So if you look in here, that is the Flip Sky 4.12 Smart BMS, or not BMS, ESC. And I just got stuff like, the receiver tucked up underneath this rubber sheet, so it's not actually attached to anything, but that way it doesn't like bump around or move. But the biggest issue is you can see how tiny this thing is compared to the size of the box. And unfortunately, I just couldn't find any boxes that would accommodate the size of the normal ESC on its own. Like, it just wasn't, like, none of them were just like perfect squares, and that's what got me stuck on this, where I was like, okay, well, I'll just get one that's wider in case I get a wider BMS, or, ESC later, and then I'll try to mount it in here. But not too long after I got this, I realized, it's not too long after I installed this, I realized that when you actually do this, it touches up against the box. And that became one of the biggest issues. One other notable thing about this is these originally came with a 72 tooth pulley on the wheel and a 15 on the motor. That's the one that this L-Faster kit comes with. But I did find through a couple different people, there's 2 different kinds of pulleys that you can go with. I'll be damned if I could remember them right now off the top of my head, but there are 2 different types. I think it's like a P type and some other kind of type. But basically what it is it's just one type is just a pulley with the set screws inside of the teeth. There's usually 2 of them, 90 degrees away from each other. And then there's this type here, which has the set screws off to the side, which is good because as long as the shafts are on this, as long as they're long enough, then there's nothing stopping you from using these kind of pulleys. And I actually think these are a better option because it allowed me to get a smaller size. So I can get a 12 tooth on here, which isn't good for most people, but being as heavy as I am, it actually makes it really nice to have high torque at, being 300 some pounds and being able to do 20 miles an hour, but being able to ride through grass or take off in grass. Not to mention, as far as tightening them up, you don't have to play that game of like guessing where the motor adjustment's supposed to be, then tightening your pulley, and then putting your tire on only to find out if you're too far out or too far forward. Because you can set it here on the outside without having to worry about the shaft. You can literally just pull the motor and then tighten it. So, I think that's everything that is the board right now. All the changes I've made included. But I think I'm going to go and set this up when I get home. And I'll see if I can explain what my plan is going forward as far as changing this up. What parts I'm going to be reusing. What parts I'm going to keep. Or which parts I'm not going to keep. I think I'm going to keep all the essentials like battery, controller, motor, trucks, bracket, wheels. I just think the deck is going to get changed out. I might have to get some custom wedges for whatever it is whatever board I'm going to use. I don't know if I want to go with I don't know. I mean, realistically, I'm up in the air on this. I kind of want some people's input, but there's only so many people online I can talk to, and there's nowhere around my area that actually rides electric anything, really. So I need to consider the idea that should I go with a flat longboard? Should I go with a drop deck longboard where it's got some edge like this, and then put some wedges on the front just so I can have some depth, lower center of gravity? Or should I just buy another mountain board? I mean, everybody's going to probably say, hey, buy Trampa, carbon fiber, but even if it's in my price range, I mean, I still have to wait for it to be shipped from the UK. And being in, the central US, it makes it a little more difficult. At least to wait that long. But, especially if I want to get this done with any kind of like expectations, because I need to keep in mind that I still ride this thing like multiple times a week if possible, even in the winter. That's probably why it's so thoroughly thrashed, but I mean, it works. It's still got me going back and forth. I did make a couple other boards, but that's something I'll cover in a different video when I start going through all the stuff I have and I'm going to be making. But yeah, I just need to know, if you have any comments about like what kind of board to use, what kind of board makes sense for a daily rider if I want all-terrain, and what other options I may be not considering. That I don't even know if I could show this without taking this apart, but I'll give it a shot. So, oh, you can't. Oh, you can see it. That's the board. There's a whole piece of plastic missing. Basically, it pried itself off of the deck. So, I mean, I already planned on replacing this at some point in the future. I just didn't realize it would happen within the first year or so. But as soon as it was touching, I knew it was going to be an issue. I can even feel where it's been grabbing down here, like rubbing on it. Not so much on this side, but it's mostly because I don't lean backwards that far. So, kind of stuck in a spot right now where I'm like, yo, what do I do? And then obviously, of course, I think you know in the video that this board's already been reused. The deck itself has been reused, I don't know, probably 4 times on different boards. And it's taken a beating. Like, I mean, seriously, like this thing has got so many holes in it. You just feel around and you find new ones. But yeah, even though most of those have been filled in with body filler, it's still together. It's still a whole board. I can't take looking at it every day like this. Yeah, another thing. I know I don't have them with me. It kind of sucks. Maybe I'll get a chance to show them later. But you can see these are the L-Faster trucks. Those heavy, beefy Chinese-made ones that you end up getting because, you know, they're such a better price than the regular ones. They're still holding up. They're still strong. I haven't so much as damaged these at all. I mean, obviously you can see these here, but this is from an attempt I made at modifying some Trampa 3D print files to make fenders. So a lot of these, so the 3D print files I had, they were made for a Trampa board with a square shank here, and this actually originally, these are not the normal, the set that came with the front end on this was actually made for 2-wheel drive or 4-wheel drive. So it had the knobs on the front of them here and here. So it's basically just a second drive truck like that one that can mount up to the bracket. So instead of just being regular square like the regular normal trucks are for L-Faster, it was a regular drive truck with a knob there and a knob there, and I ended up having to grind them off just so I could get that square piece on there, but they do fit. So in case you're wondering, the regular L-Faster truck that goes on the front of mountain boards that doesn't have the little knobs here in the front, it's actually cross-compatible with the Trampa, one of the Trampa trucks. I'm not sure which one it is exactly. And you can see I had to put some spacers in here to make the the shaft length work. But yeah, a little rough starting here, but that's the only thing that's actually wearing down on these. Still holding up strong. I haven't had so much as a bend or a creak or anything weird out of it. You can see at one point I've gone through and put some anodized washers just to make it all match. There was an attempt at making 3D printed cooling fins, since the air direction is this way while riding, and these air slots want to have air going in this direction. So I had to make something work. I'm probably going to end up taking these off anyways. They're basically doing nothing for me. I don't notice any significant cooling difference between one with it or without it. Alright, back at work. So this is the solution we came up with. This is the box that I just showed you right here. Use a little bit of the like 5D or 6D carbon fiber vinyl wrap that I had left over from another project. Just put it on top. You can see it just trimmed in to fit the lid. Power button back where it belongs. Charge port back where it was. And just have this screwed through directly onto the wood of the deck. I will end up coming up with some kind of spacer for this so where it actually doesn't wobble so much, because it does have a little bit of wobble to it. Cables aren't figured out yet, but I got 3-phase hooked up so I can at least run back and forth to work. Working good. It does seem like it goes a little bit faster, and I don't know why. I don't know if that's a better cooling issue or if I just had some issues with connections on these. But yeah, that's the solution. And now that I've ridden it back to work again, more problems have come up and I noticed it. So, I noticed when I was messing with this, I don't know if you can tell, but do you see that wobble in the motor mount? That is not gonna, it's not gonna be fun. I know it kind of looks like it's in the whole truck in this side, but this side it's the, definitely the motor mount. I did check my bushings in here. Those are all still good. I'm not getting that much wobble from that directly. See, there's no movement actually in the bushings here. It's just there. So I need to get home tonight, get some metric Allen keys, and we'll tighten that up and see if that fixes the issue. I have a feeling that since I originally put it on here, I have a feeling it's just worn. Let's see if I can get a better shot. I have a feeling it's just worn underneath the mount away. Oops, let's clean that off. There you go. I have a feeling it's just worn away under the mount a little bit, so it's exposed more of a gap it just can wobble in. But yeah, 6374 still running those. Maybe one day I will eventually upgrade because I do need to get more torque and a higher speed. 6374 is running duals even with this gearing. It does seem like it's getting like 20, 21 instead of the just under 20 it was getting before. I do need to GPS test that, but it did feel a lot better riding to work today after replacing just the box, which shouldn't affect any of the drivetrain, which is very odd. So I do have a feeling that I was either being limited on speed by having the Hall effect sensors that weren't doing anything plugged in, or some other factor going on. But I will get it fixed. And for right now, I think that's going to be it on the off-road board. The next video, we're going to take a look and evaluate all of the projects that I currently have outstanding and all of the ones that I'm still working on and ones that I finished but are sitting off to the side waiting to either be sold, or ones that I still have so much work to do I still need to source parts for. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you.